What if did the clouds cover the transmission at all? I wonder.
We'll find out. We'll also find out if there will be tears tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I may cry.
They're going to flow.
I may cry.
Because dry eye in the house.
We will unfortunately be saying goodbye to 6, not 7, seniors tonight. Let's see if we can name them all off the top of our head. Ainsley Almanor, Andrew Carr, Kobe Brea, Jackson Robinson, Amari Williams. One more.
All right.
Who have I
Lamont
missed?
Butler, did you say him?
Lamont Butler. There we go. All 6 will be saying goodbye to their old Kentucky home on senior night. It is an emotional day. It's a different Kentucky roster than we've seen in the past. This is going to be probably the biggest senior day crowd given in terms of
people on the floor,
on court production of guys that actually matter. You know, we love the walk-ons. We love all those, somber moments in the past. But this is obviously a very different senior day for all of us. How are you feeling going into this matchup?
Like you, Jack, I'm going to be a little emotional, I think. This is one of those teams that we're going to look back in 10 years and be like, man, remember Pope's first team? Like, weren't they so fun? Like, just a bunch of ragtag guys kind of putting it all together at the last second, trying to figure it out on the fly.
Has been a really good.
It's going to be one of those teams that you just look back and say, man, they were a lot of fun to watch and talk with and be around. All those senior presences, good voices that we got to talk to in the interviews and stuff like that. A couple of notes, I guess, on it is it kind of confirms that Ainsley Almanor is probably not even going to try, I guess, to maybe get that 5th year that. I think it was you that asked him about it, right, the other day, or someone did. Ben Roberts did.
It's rumored. It's like one of those deals where it's like, his reaction to it was, yes, I know it's being discussed. I'm
not prepping.
I'm not going to play hypotheticals with the NCAA. Like I've been with it.
He knows.
When you've been around the NCAA for 4 years, you're not going to assume anything. You're not going to, he said in 30 minutes they could change the news that I have a 5th year of eligibility. Am I going to account for that as I prepare for my life? No.
Right.
As things stand today, my time in college basketball is over. So, it does appear that he will be wrapping up his beautiful time at Kentucky tonight.
Yeah, which is a bummer because he is a guy that I would like to have back maybe in a similar role next season if he could have made that happen, but unfortunately not. We'll miss Ainsley. He was a really awesome player, fun to talk to as well. And then no Kirk Kriisa going through, so that's kind of a confirmation that he is going to at least apply for the medical red shirt and try and get back for another college basketball season. Who knows where that'll end up being, if it's here or somewhere else. I'm sure all those discussions will be had over the next however many months and whatnot, but it definitely seems like, and Pope even said that, they left Kerr out because he's not going through senior day, which kind of assumes that he's trying to come back for another season. So those are just two kind of small notes from the actual senior day or senior night stuff, but it's going to be emotional. It really is. So I'm excited for it. They're going to do it's paper circles, or what do you even call those things? Do they have a real name?
The paper hoop.
The paper hoop. That's because I've been trying to look for the word when I'm writing. I'm like, what word do I use?
Fit.
Yeah, circle is like giant paper circle. Doesn't exactly roll off the tongue that well, with all their faces planted on top of it. But yes, it'll be fun, and hopefully the emotions aren't too high when the ball is finally tipped, because there is a basketball game to be played, and boy, is the opponent not a good one either.
And that's why, the opponent and the matchup,
very well timed.
It's like priority number 12 for us right now, as we talk about Daman Collins, the individual storylines.
Right, yeah, you got the whole Daman Collins
much
thing.
more important than the actual game. It's matchup itself and what it means. But I do want, before we get into all of that fun stuff, the video that was posted earlier today of the makeshift phone that connected to nothing.
Old school. I don't even think I had that phone in my house.
It was the old school phone where the players were instructed to call their old selves.
Younger selves.
Their younger selves.
Younger versions.
To just say, hey.
They didn't specify what age they were talking to, though. I wonder if were they talking to 20 last year or 10 years ago.
I'm talking to me of yesterday.
Yeah, well, it still could be. It'd be pretty cool if you could do that to yourself.
Yeah, but that was a really cool video that you could kind of see them get into their heads, and Lamont Butler just kind of kicks his legs back and is that's when the gears start turning.
Yeah.
Of hey, remember when I did this? Remember when
the John
that guy,
Wall dance?
That the Kobe Brea told the story of hey, remember when your high school coach told you that you were never going to make it? Now you're wrapping up your historic in terms of shooting ability, historic college career at the University of Kentucky as one of the greatest shooters in college basketball. He's like, remember when the people that doubted you said that you never get to this point? Now look at you now. Is this a really cool...
I liked when Amari said, we're in Lexington now. Almost like he was like, or he said something like, where you probably have no idea where that is. And it's like, Amari from last year probably had no idea where Lexington, Kentucky was, even if he knew about the whole Kentucky basketball lore and history behind it. So it was very cool. Definitely emotional. I thought it was, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this could be very, very cringy type, almost too corny.
Because it was
but it was the
ring,
perfect
ring.
Yeah.
Hello.
But it was the perfect balance of corny, where it was like, this is nice.
But that's what this group is. They're like the dad, it's like a dad joke, It's like the whole thing is like a dad joke skit that they just did really, really well. And it teeters that line so carefully, but I think they handled it so well.
Oh yeah,
because it could have gotten cheesy, but even Jackson Robinson, knowing what he has gone through within the last week, you could kind of just see the look on his face of like, hey, I'm pretty defeated right now, but being able to have this conversation with my older self kind of adds a new level of perspective, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I just enjoyed it overall. UK's been releasing small little individual videos as well, just doing little highlights of their season and stuff like that. But it is kind of crazy when you think about where all those seniors came from. You've got Drexel, Fairleigh Dickinson, Dayton, where else?
San Diego State,
BYU. It is kind of crazy when you think about that, where you're like, man, all these guys. Wake Forest. Wake Forest just
by way of
might as well be a
Delaware.
mid-major at this point. Yeah, that's true.
Let's give some senior day moments. Your favorite Lamont Butler moment.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna go player by player. I mean, it has to be the Louisville game, right? With Lamont. I mean, really no other option there. The card killer 2.0. They're 10 for 10 from the line. Was he I think 6 of 6 from 3, 5 of 5, something like that. So great game from him, and that one easily has to be the top Lamont Butler moment.
Andrew Carr, I'm going with a combination.
There's a couple different ones you can go with.
Duke and Gonzaga game, because he always
just the second half.
He always seemed to show up big late against the best.
The last 5 minutes of Gonzaga and Duke, those 10 minutes combined, saved Kentucky in both those games.
Yeah, he was absolutely brilliant. That one's my favorite. Your Ansley Almanor moment.
Honestly, I think for Ansley, it might be just there was that 4 or 5 game stretch where he was just shooting everything. And that was around the time when Carr was hurt or still trying to get back to where his old self was. But Ansley had that stretch where
Mississippi State
he won 2 games. I think it was 2 games in a 5 game stretch where Ansley was the guy that won Kentucky the game. And Pope predicted it in the beginning of the season, said Ainsley's going to win us a game. He won Kentucky probably 2 or 3 games this season just off his hot shooting. Really just a great catch and shoot specialist that kid is. So I'll just say that stretch in particular. Yeah, the Mississippi State game, if we're actually looking for one in particular game. And I feel like there was another road game that he was really good as well. I just can't remember who the opponent was off the top of my head. But yeah, he's had some big moments hitting threes. So
Kobe Brea, I'm going with the SEC opener, 7 for 7, hitting 7 threes. That was kind of all right, we've seen him explode against non-conference competition. We've seen him, light up mid-majors, but can he do it at this level? And then the very first game of SEC play, he goes for 7 threes and just it was like a wake-up call, oh man, maybe this team is legit. Maybe this team can make a run. So that was definitely my favorite Kobe Bryant. He's just been awesome all year.
It's been awesome. I think for Kobe, for me, it's not going to be in a particular moment, but I think it's going to be the last 5, 6, 7 games for him where he's turned into kind of a pretty decent playmaker and maybe has earned, got himself some extra NBA draft points doing all that stuff. He's taken some pages out of the Kerr Kriisa no-look pass book, and he's been pretty good at it. So, and he's actually been picking up the scoring lately. It doesn't feel like it's been in losses. He's still going, 20 points, stuff like that. So I just think his late season progression has probably been my favorite part about watching him play, and just his jump shot is really fun to watch in general.
I'm going to save Amari Williams for you because he's my guy. He's probably your favorite player.
Absolutely, not even close.
Robinson, I'm going that second half against Gonzaga because
point guard.
His first half was so disappointing. And that was okay, he didn't step up against Duke. That was where some of the conversations started coming of hey, you're our high-dollar premium portal guy. When are you going to step up in some of these big games? And, you started getting some of the narratives flowing there in the first half of maybe this guy just doesn't have it, and then he wins you the game against Gonzaga. That was just a really cool second-half moment for him. And SEC play, man, he's just been terrific.
47%, I think, from three in the SEC. Like, he was Kentucky's best outside, well, aside from Ansley, I guess. He was Kentucky's best consistent three-point shooter throughout all of SEC play. So I think we're almost maybe underrating the value that he brings in that regard. But I forget which game it was, but where did he have his career high or his season high? Do you remember?
Was that Mississippi State?
Mississippi State. That was an awesome game.
It was amazing. And Steven had the video of our KSR road trip video where you watch me just losing my freaking mind on press row. Totally unprofessional, but hey, when you have
you're wearing a Kentucky jacket right now, so
when you have a kid that you're rooting for to finally break through after so long of not getting kind of the brilliance that you've been waiting for, and you've seen him kind of take some criticism. It really was a cool moment to see him kind of like watch it click right before our very eyes. That was a really, really, really special performance. And
didn't he follow that up with like a 22-point game as well? I forget it. I know he had back-to-back games. I don't know if it was the one before Mississippi State or after, but he had that 2-game stretch where I think he scored like 50 points or something.
Been awesome all SEC.
Really was. It was tough to see him go down the way he did, but we'll save my personal best for last. Amari Williams. I mean, I could tell you 100 different moments. I think I really loved how he played against Janai Broome, even in the loss. I thought that was a very big game for him. That was something I was really looking forward to. He had a triple-double, fourth ever triple-double in Kentucky basketball history. Amari Williams. That's going to be one of those weird trivia questions when you're like, man, that's right, he did have
another three.
Briscoe.
Same team.
Malik. No.
De'Aaron Fox,
and then like
Chris Mills,
sure. I got Briscoe. 2 out of 4, that's fine. Amari is just his overall season progression from the time in the middle of the season where everyone was like, man, is this guy, does he realize he's 260 pounds, to the point now where it's like, man, we have to get the ball to Amari because he's 260 pounds and he's beating everybody up. Really just loved watching him all season long. He was my favorite guy to interview. We got a player over there, right there, or ex-player.
Richie.
But I really did have a lot of fun watching Amari Williams play basketball this year. Not often we get England natives coming over here to play basketball for Kentucky. I can't imagine it's happened all that often, if ever. But so it was a lot of fun to watch him. You don't see 7-footers passing the ball like he does. I really hope he has some sort of NBA career so I can continue to follow him as much as he has. The triple-double was probably one of my favorite moments, but he had a lot of just kind of – there was stretches where he'd score 8, 9, 10 points in a row when Kentucky really needed it.
You could watch it, like, start to marinate.
You could see it click in his head where you're like, all right, after that second bucket, like, all right, Amari knows he's the best player on the floor. He's going to start acting like it. And he did for the most part over the last, 10 games of the season. So his progress, his overall development has really been, I think, a testament to both himself and Mark Pope and that whole staff. And if you're another center who can pass the ball at all, like even with a sense of like playmaking ability, you watch Amari Williams, you're like, man, that could be me. So I think that recruiting, all of it's baked into Amari Williams having a great end of the season here, and I'm just really going to miss him. My favorite player this season, not even close.
It's going to be a sad evening. I think they announced at 6:40. Make sure you're in your seats. It's when they're going to start the ceremony. Mm-hmm. But there is a game to be played, Zach.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about it.
We are going to be taking on the LSU Tigers, who, as you so eloquently said, are not very good.
Yes.
You hate, again, it feels like we've thrown it around way too often, but of the games that you have to win, you got to just call them must-wins, because when they're layered between the Alabamas and Tennessees and Floridas, and like you got to just take the wins, the easy wins as they come. This absolutely qualifies. I counted. This is the 10th easiest game on the schedule for Kentucky in terms of net
counting
ranking,
non-conference as well. Wow,
including non-conference. So,
yikes.
You don't get much easier than this type of matchup. How do you envision this game going tonight for the Cats?
I imagine it'll start off a little shaky, just with the whole senior night festivities. I feel like that's not something that's uncommon to happen. So maybe take a couple minutes to get the rust off. I guess they'll probably start 5 seniors. Who do we think starts then of the 6 that are going through?
They'll swap out Otega for Ansley.
I guess so, and then just run with the rest of it. Yeah. Okay, that's probably how it'll go. And then who
Jackson will run out there with a broken wrist.
I was thinking, who's the 6th guy? Who do they come? Yeah, Jackson is not going to be playing. So But yes, LSU, they're kind of in a weird injury situation as well. They've got two guys that are, like, I think doubtful for this game. Like, not necessarily high-level players, but, like, 10 points of production SEC play that you're just going to lose in this game. Victorious Miller, and I think the other guy's last name is Chest. Corey Chest might be his name. That's 10 points per game from SEC that they're just probably not going to have tonight. So they've been dealing with stuff like that. They really just have one guy, Cameron Carter, who scores in double figures, and he's a really good shooter. So that's one thing you want to take away is him. But if you prevent that guy from scoring 20-plus, this should be a relatively easy win, I think, for Kentucky, and that's why the spread is what?
12.5.
12.5, yeah. And I think KenPom has like a 14-point win. So all of that is for a reason, even without Jackson Robinson and maybe still, trying to get everybody else back to 100%. LSU just really doesn't have anywhere near the talent level, and they're just not that good of a team. They're 14th in offense, 15th in defense since the SEC started among SEC teams. So they're just not good right now. They're on a 3-game losing streak. It's been tough opponents, but it's just not going well for McMahon right now.
Daman Collins, welcome back to Lexington. Look, we saw what happened with Aaron Bradshaw up in New York City. He got booed. He goes for a career night. We saw the Arkansas DJ thing. All of the guys that got booed ended up having career nights. Then we saw what happened when Otega Owe goes out to Norman and he gets booed.
They didn't even think to factor that one in.
If we have learned anything from this experience, just give him a massive standing ovation. Just
Cam. We should have got Cam in there. We should have asked him his thoughts on Kyrie Irving's injury.
Oh, yeah.
Poor Mavericks fan guy. Yeah, poor guy. Feel bad for him.
Dropping like flies. Please.
There's no reason to boo Daman Collins, first of all.
That is good in this world.
There's no reason
Please just cheer Daman Collins for nothing else more than, like, we've seen what happens when you boo him. He'll end up going for 25 and 15 if you boo him. So just cheer him.
He's a senior, correct?
Redshirt junior.
Okay, so he has another. I was about to say, man, we could make this into a double senior night. Bring him out too, and just because I feel like everyone's going to cheer him. I don't think there's any. Well, and also Daman Collins was like the quietest, nicest kid that's ever roamed this campus. Like, there was never, and obviously his whole situation with his father passing away, like, just not a very good situation for him here in Lexington. So no one blamed him for leaving. I think he's actually been playing pretty decently this season.
Highs in points, rebounds, and blocks.
Yeah, so he'll be a player out there for him. I don't think he starts, but he'll come off the bench. He does start. Okay, so he'll play probably 15, 20 minutes, so that'll be nice just to watch him come out there. Hopefully, boo or no boo, you don't want to see that guy come out and splash a bunch of threes because, like I said in my predictions, I want him to have a good game. Not a great game. I want Daman Collins to have a good game because a great game from him might mean that Kentucky can be a little rockier than you'd think.
Yeah, we don't want that. And Daman, there was just something about him that I think when he committed to Kentucky, there was a lot of just doubt about him. His personality, he's come from a small town, Atlanta, Texas. They knew that everybody knew that he was kind of taking a chance on himself by coming here and being in kind of the big fish bowl and the spotlight of Kentucky anyway. So when it didn't work out, I think there was just this understanding of on top of what he went through as a kid and losing his father beginning of his sophomore season here, it was just this understanding of, life happens. He needs to go somewhere closer to home, smaller, a bit, where he can grow on his own timeline instead of what everything has to be at 10 times speed here in Lexington.
Yeah.
So I think the fans will recognize that and know what he's been through, know where he came from, how he got to Kentucky, and view it as it was a good run. Glad he's doing well, but let's just hope he doesn't have a career night tonight. And I think cheering him is a recipe for success for that.
Yes, and I think he will come out and have just a decent game because he's a good ball player. He really is. So this will be a game I'm sure he wants to come out and prove himself a little bit and play well. But really, other than Cameron Carter being their leading scorer and the Daman Collins storyline, there's just not much about this team or LSU to really get you too worried. They like to shoot a lot of threes, so maybe that could be your one. Like Mark Pope talks about wanting Kentucky to actually shoot 33s a game. LSU shoots 33s a game. I think they've shot they're averaging 33s over their last 3 games, but they shoot 27% from 3 in those games. So they're just not a very good outside shooting team, but all it takes is one guy. All it takes is one Miles Kelly 9 for 13 BS game like that.
Talk about that name.
So as long as you keep some of those things from happening, just rebound on the glass. They're not a really good rebounding team. Kentucky's going to have a huge size advantage. Outside of the first couple minutes where you get the emotions of senior night out of the way, I think Kentucky should roll to this one pretty easily.
I liked the mindset talking to Ainsley Almanor. He said that they know that everybody is worried about the postseason right now, that's kind of like, hey, what are they going to do in the SEC tournament? Can they make a run in Nashville? Can they make a run in the NCAAs? He said, we got to win Tuesday night first and foremost, then we got to win Saturday. So do you think that the headspace is where it needs to be going, I guess, a week now away from our trip down to Nashville?
It better be, because if you don't win this game, you are playing on Wednesday. You have to win this game.
It really is as simple as if you lose tonight, you can pencil yourself in for Wednesday.
I guess you could still beat Missouri and other things go your way, and you could get it that way. But a lot of that, it's your percentage chances are very, very low if you lose this game. So that alone should be reason to lock in and play, because you really do not want the no bye. You want that single bye desperately, because it's just going to be hard to win 5 games in that tournament in a row, 5 days in a row. So 4 is still going to be very difficult, but a lot easier than 5. So that alone, I think, should have this group ready to go. Like I said, I think there will be some waves of emotions early on, but they'll lock in pretty quick. Most of these guys have already done senior nights before at their last schools, so they probably know. Like, I know Amari was saying that he already did it. He said he did it last year at Drexel with 6 or 7 other Drexel guys, and they all
maybe
came
like
out.
6 or 7 other people in the stands.
That's true. I didn't actually check the final score of that game, so hopefully they won and it didn't get blown out or anything. But so a lot of these guys are veterans. They're not 25-year-olds like Chad Baker Mazzara, but they are old enough. They know
get a job.
They know what the deal is. So I'm expecting a very put together performance tonight from Kentucky, and they kind of have to, honestly.
There's a level of excitement for me to know that, like, if you win tonight and you win on Saturday, you are essentially locking up a Thursday start next week
and a 3
seed in the NCAA tournament. Is that, like, the reality of that how does that weigh on you?
How does that weigh on me? Jerry Tipton over here.
So I actually thought about that. How does that play on your mind?
How does that play on my mind? Well, I mean, just pretty much what I just said. Like, you have to really, the SEC tournament is what you want to focus on first, because like I said, you don't want to play those 5 games in 5 days. So everything is still on the table to kind of have this really good season that you've been on course for all season long, but you can really trip yourself up here at the end if you go 0 in these final 2. So they might not be talking about looking ahead, but you know that they're thinking about that too. Like, man, we got to win these games so those other games aren't as tough.
It feels so close but so far. Like, it feels within grasp, like, hey, a week from right now, we will know what the SEC tournament bracket looks like. We'll know when we're starting, when we're going down there. Like, there's so much. It's a week away. I mean, we are days removed from that trip, while also being like so much more can play out until we get to that point. So it's like that. Like, I love being in this spot where we're so close, but it's like, man, I just want to fast forward to Saturday at 4 p.m. to know what we look like, to know what the path looks like, and then we'll just say, let everything else play out the way it needs to, and hopefully it results in a weekend in Nashville. I'm just dying for not a weekday, not a weeknight, not the
whole weekend.
Oh, that Thursday night was a blast. I want a weekend in Nashville. I don't care what it takes. That's all I care about.
I would just like to close out this season being able to sit in Rupp Arena after everyone is gone and just like do my little self-reflection and be like, it's another good season. Do you ever just do that? Just look around and say, I hope y'all will indulge me in that when we leave here at like midnight.
We'll all do that, like, thinking man at the very end of the game. Go,
another year in Rupp.
Sure was a swell season.
Sure was a fun one. Yes, it was. So, predictions.
What did I say? I think it's going to be a mucky start, and then Kentucky rallies to an 80.
Forgets his prediction already. Look at this guy.
89-71 victory for the Kentucky Wildcats, and I'm going Ansley Almanor is my MVP.
I like it. I think I went 85-75 Cats. MVP, Mari Williams. Why not?
That's your boy.
Let's get him a double-double's coming if he plays 25 minutes.
Big size advantage for the Cats.
Yes, so he'll get his double-double. Maybe we'll see another triple-double in here tonight. Who knows? Rack up some steals, some blocks. I'd really like to see Kentucky cut down some turnovers. They really have not been good at that over the last few games. So really limiting the turnovers against a team that isn't very good at turning you over would be just kind of a nice little nugget going into Missouri.
Well, this was an extended version of our walk and talk because, some of the ones in the past have gotten cut off. Sometimes it's freezing outside and we got to rush inside.
Actually got decent weather today,
day, windy, but, it's senior night. It's our last one, so we wanted to extend this one a little bit and get inside much earlier than we're used to. We're going to go see what the festivities look like, and we're going to have one hell of an evening, hopefully celebrating
6:40.
Cats win.
And Steven not once tripped.
Wow.
Well, we still have the Columbia trip. He could.
I'm going to trip you specifically so we can say that you tripped the season.
Steven did not trip once on the walk to Rupp. I think he had a couple slips maybe.
We had some whoa.
We had some woes.
Whoa.
Yeah, we had some cartoon moments, but hit some poles, but he's alive.
Hell of a run. Hell of a first year for Mark Pope. Hopefully it ends the way we kind of hope and pray. And
hope and Pope.
Business would be booming if that's the case. But we'll go inside and hopefully cheer on the Cats to another big-time victory to wrap up the home schedule. We'll see you on the other side.